Hi guys, so in this video I'm going to talk about how I choose which option strike I am going to play on a given day or going into a given week. So today is Sunday, February 22nd, and just getting ready for trading here. And you can see we're looking at Tesla right now on my screen, and I have the 217.50 strike calls and the 215 strike puts pulled up on Tesla, and these are going to be the ones that I start the week out watching. Now, why am I choosing those ones? Well, the first factor is I choose a strike that I think can end up in the money. So right now these 217.50 strikes are at the money. I think if Tesla rises on the week, she could go into the 220s, so these 217.50s are going to go in the money, and the best returns come when a strike goes from out of the money or at the money to in the money. So that's what I'm looking for here. On upside, I want to get upside exposure by trading something that is kind of in line with my target, but not too far out of the money. So that's why I'm choosing these 1750 strikes. On the put side, you know, if Tesla starts going down, it's coming in the week around 217. So if Tesla starts going down, I think it could go back down towards 210. So the 215s, they're going for $3. Right near the money, they're going to go from out of the money to in the money if Tesla does go down towards 210. And you'll see this for all of the stocks I trade for the most part. You look at Netflix. Netflix is coming into the week at 478. I think the stock could go up to the 490s, so I'm watching the 485 strike calls. I think if you start declining, you could go into the 460s, so I'm watching the 472.50 strike puts. Looking at Amazon, Amazon's entering the week at 383s. I think if you go higher, you could go towards 390s, so I'm watching the 385 strike calls. I think if you go lower, you could go back into the 370s. I'm watching the at the money 382.50 strike puts, but I might switch to the 380 strike puts because, again, just want to be in a strike that is going to go in the money if my targets get reached. So that's the number one characteristic for me when it comes to choosing a strike. I play a strike that I think can actually go in the money based on the targets I have for the stock. Couple other exceptions, a couple other rules that I have is earlier in the week I am willing to pay more in premium because there is more time until expiration. However, later in the week, Wednesday, Thursday, I will start to really look pretty much in the money because by that time premium has worn off because it's become clear what move is going to get made, what move isn't going to get made, and that is where I will go in the money. For instance, Amazon right now, again, entering the week at 383. So if we look at the 380 strike calls, which are in the money, these are going for $7. They've got about $4 worth of premium, the 380 calls. Now, if by Thursday Amazon is still just hanging on around 383, these 380 calls are not going to be going for $7. They will have had a lot of premium come out. They'll be going for maybe, $4 to $4.50. So that's when then I'll look at playing a call that's in the money. So that brings me to my next rule. As the week progresses and premium comes out and the movement starts to happen, I will then start to go from out of the money or at the money to in the money. Now there are a couple exceptions with my rules and one other note to make. The exception comes from a stock like Priceline. Priceline is the highest priced stock in my list, and even if I were to go 1% out of the money, the stock's entering the week at 12.16. So 1% out of the money, 1.5% out of the money is the 12.30 calls. That's usually what I would do, a 1% out of the money strike, 1.5% out of the money strike. But you look at these, they're going for $9. So Priceline is an exception because I do not want to pay $900 just for one contract. So with Priceline, I will go further out of the money, something like the 1250s, to account for the high absolute cost of the premium. Priceline is really the one exception. It's the only stock that's so expensive, just in terms of the share price, $1,200, that I do have to make exceptions. So that's what I do. And that leads me to a general rule of thumb here with my account. My account is $31,000. I generally don't want to pay more than 1 to 2% of my account value to own a strike. So if you look at all my examples here that I showed you with Tesla, Netflix, and Amazon, so this Tesla 217.50 strike call, it'll cost me $370. $370 out of my $31,000 account is just over 1%, 1.1%. You look at Amazon, if I'm playing the 385 calls, I'll be paying $440, and again, that is just over 1%. Coming in at 1.4% of my account value. So that's one of my metrics that I use. I don't want to pay more than 1 to 2% of my account value per strike, and again, that's why I make this exception for Priceline to go further out of the money. But even with Priceline later in the week, once premium comes out, I will go closer to the money. I'll generally never go in the money on Priceline because of the premiums, unless it's, Friday, late in the day. But I will go closer to the money. Now, two stocks, Twitter and GoPro, they're on the cheaper side. These ones I'll always go in the money because, I'm paying $1 per contract to own the 49 strike calls on Twitter, for instance, or I'm paying $1.50 per contract to own the 50 strike puts. Those are both in the money, and they're both going to cost me less than 1% of my account to own. Same thing with GoPro. The 45 strike calls, GoPro is coming in the week at 45, so these are going to be in the money, and I'm paying $150 to own. The 47 strike puts, they're coming in the week into the money. I'd pay $300 to own, so I'd be paying just under 1% of my account value. So these two, Twitter and GoPro, I generally will always be in the money. Priceline, I'll never really be in the money. Tesla, Netflix, Amazon, Google, I'll generally start the week slightly out of the money or at the money, and then as the week progresses, I will get in the money. And the rule I have for my metrics is 1 to 2% of, no more than 1 to 2% of my account value exposed in one particular strike at a time. So the idea behind that is as my account grows, I will be able to play closer and closer to the money and open myself up to having more exposure. If you've got any questions on my strike selection or anything that goes into this, feel free to email me, Kevin@Watchhimtrade.com. But remember, the keys are, for me, I pick strikes that are in line with my targets, with the exception of Priceline, and I get closer to the money as the week progresses, and I have capital limits that I want to respect when it comes to how much I'm paying per contract. For me, 1 to 2% of my account value.